Every episode on Celebrity Encounters podcast, we interview real people just like you, sharing their own personal celebrity encounters. And with a little storytelling help from us and a few surprises from here in Las Vegas, this is Celebrity Encounters Podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Celebrity Encounters Podcast. I am Harlan, and of course, Alan here. Doot-doot. And we have an amazing guest for you today. You know him, you love him, you've never heard of him, but that's okay. We have Tony. Tony is, in the world of comedy, the man. And we've had him on our show before, and boy, does this guy have some stories for you. Drop some names. Who are we talking about today, Tony?
Well, we're going to talk about Rodney Dangerfield and Rosie.
I get no respect. All right.
But
got to straighten the tie. That's it. Looking good.
Talking about me in the business, if you look on Facebook, if you put comedy and Godfather, my picture comes up.
Oh, see? I'm not joking around.
Oh, yeah.
We got the Godfather of comedy right here.
He may be in the Mob Museum.
Oh, good Lord. That's here in Las Vegas, by the way, if you want to come visit.
I've been around a few interesting people.
Remember, only positive stories here, Tony.
No, I wouldn't say anything derogatory about any of them. Well, with Rodney, if you look at the credits, you'll see my name as a talent coordinator in his last HBO special. And what it entailed would be taking and back, and this was years ago in New York City. Rodney had an apartment in New York on the Upper West Side that he actually, right near Gracie Mansion, that he took three apartments, and he knocked down the walls and made it one big apartment. That's how he rolled, I guess you'd say. But I would take, back then, VHS tapes to his house, and he'd pop them in and look at them and see what he thought of the comic. And would comment as far as seeing for his HBO special. And I would try to figure guys that he would like or guys that he would enjoy watching. He had a really great talent of finding good talent. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Carrey, Dice, Kennison. I mean, the guys that he would have, Robert Townsend, the guys he would have that he picked for his specials were unique and very good. You know, they were. Roseanne Barr was on, was debuted on his specials and things like that. So he had a really an ability to pick great talent, and I tried my best to bring him the right guys. Tim Allen he had on there, The funny thing about it, would bring tapes to his apartment, and he'd sit and he'd watch it, and he would study the tape for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and there was no in between. Either, well, he's good or whatever. No, this guy sucks. Give me somebody else. Let me see somebody else. It was either he liked them or he just turned, that was it. But and also it was a situation where he had Dangerfields in New York, so it was guys that actually worked his room in New York City too. But
did he ever have his own comedy club?
Rodney Dangerfield's in Manhattan.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah. He had Dangerfields and which did quite well. Then, after the HBO special that we did, he opened up here in Vegas and called it Rodney's Place.
Okay.
Rodney's Place, and it was right at the Tropicana where Brad Garrett's place started out. Brad Garrett started his comedy club.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Same room in the Tropicana there. But it started out as Rodney's Place. He worked for, and every night the place was packed to the walls after his HBO special. The hotel wanted to change his contract. The contracts then were for 6 months. They would give you a contract for 6 months, and then they would renew it. But after a year, they wanted to try to the hotel was trying to take a bigger piece of the pie, and Rodney wasn't having it. And he said, listen, if I can't do my same deal, I'm not going to continue. And Rodney being a man of his word, that's what happened. He didn't continue, you know.
I have a question about this because if you come to Vegas, they're constantly talking about residencies. Oh, so and so has a residency, so has a residency, and you're like, oh wow, they got a residency, and they're here for like a month.
Or I saw one residency with 6 shows. I said, that's not a residency.
Right.
That's a run.
Right.
Yeah.
And recently, I went over to Carrot Top Show to see his show, and he was talking about that's not a residency. I've done 8,000 shows here in Vegas. That's a residency.
But they still don't call him a residency.
That's right. No, they don't. They absolutely don't.
But if you go to the Sphere and you have 2 weeks of shows, you're a residency.
You're a residency.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, let's weigh in from the professional. What is the length for a residency?
There's really not a length. These guys, they figure if they're doing more than a week, a run, you know, maybe they might work a specific room every 6 months or once a year or something like that. That's not considered residency. But if they figure they're setting up a regular schedule where they're coming in maybe once every other month or once a month, they consider that a residency. Where I'm actually working on, I can't say what it's about yet, but I'm working on a residency at Jimmy Kimmel's Club right now for a name comic that's going to be doing every Thursday there, you know, but the length of time is not really specific as far as how long that residency has to be, you know.
Well, it was like Elton John at Caesars. He was there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
See, that's a residency. Or when Elvis was here and he had his long run. That's a residency.
That's a residency, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But these people that come in for 2 weeks or a month, I'm like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, when I used to work for Rosie O'Donnell, who started to would do enough periodic dates that you could say she was doing a residency, and when she was doing stand-up herself many years ago, you know, but she ended up getting her own show, which was VH1 Stand-Up Spotlight. She started doing that, and I was the talent coordinator for that and booking those shows.
Yeah, so here's I got to ask these questions because Rosie has a reputation of being a challenging human being. Okay, he's laughing at me. Okay, that answers that question. Let's move on to the next one.
No. Rosie's a sweetheart. She realizes that, you know, it's a I don't want to say a dog eat dog world, but it's a tough. The entertainment business is tough. And sometimes you have to be a little tougher than you like to be, and you don't want that to you know be your label or whatever, you know. And she understood that she had to sometimes push the envelope to do things. Now, I'll tell you, and not to be just derogatory or anything about it. There's a gentleman by the name of Bernie Young who used to be Ben Vereen's manager for years.
Okay.
And he started handling Rosie when she started doing her morning show, when she had her show on the air. And I knew the thing about Bernie cleared his calendar. He was handling a bunch of really good comics. He got rid of everybody because he knew that you know, if he's going to work with Rosie, he's going to be take up most of his time. And but you know, as we knew, Rosie became quite a success with her morning show.
Huge. Yeah.
Point that she made literally millions, which her manager Bernie made quite a bit himself. And I'm not going to say anything about you know, bad about it or anything derogatory about it. But I said, Bernie, you know, you made so much money. He said to me, Tony, working with Rosie, I earned every penny of it.
Hey,
Hey, say no more.
there's a wink, wink, nod, nod. Furthermore,
Right, exactly.
Tony, did you ever work with Ellen DeGeneres?
No, I've never even met. You could probably name a comic that I must have worked with at some point or another. But Ellen, I never. She was just a little before my coming into working with comics. I don't even think I booked her because I booked quite just about everybody, but did not work with Ellen. Yeah,
How about Jerry Seinfeld?
Jerry. I was one of the situations where he worked at Rascals Comedy Club. He was doing an HBO special, and he came to us, and his manager called us and said, "Listen, he'd like to come in and work on material for his special. You cannot advertise it. You can do it in house. You can tell your audience in house, but you cannot advertise it that he's going to be there because the place would be mobbed." And he was going to do a couple of weeks of shows. In house, they talked about it. He did sell out every show, but I'd say 2 months, 3 months, 2 months before he stepped on that stage, every ticket was sold, paid for, and the money was sent to the charity before he even stepped on the stage. That's
Wow.
how popular he was back then.
Wow.
Jerry did quite well, and he it's funny thing with Jerry, which I always, guys like Robin Williams, which I had the pleasure of meeting many years ago, were fun to work with. But Robin was naturally funny. I mean, everything he just knew how to make things funny. Where Jerry understands how to make things funny, and I almost consider him like a textbook comic. He knows how to take a subject and make it genuinely funny. But him as an individual was more conservative as far as his approach to comedy, and say Robin, who was always on, So, but quite a difference in personality and stuff and things like that, So.
So when I was living in West Hollywood, the 3 comedy clubs that are near there, I knew people who worked at those, and every now and then they would give me that call like, "You need to come tonight." And they would never tell me, because it's exactly what Tony just said, is there'd be some name that needed to come in to test out some material, that kind of thing, and it wasn't ever up on the marquee. And you go there, and I never knew who it was going to be, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my God, that's blank," type of thing.
Does Jimmy Kimmel's club or Brad Garrett's club ever get something like that, where a comic wants to come in and they can't advertise it, but you show up and all of a sudden here's somebody that very well?
I would think it's very different here than LA or New York, because everybody rolls through those 2 cities all the time. So for testing out new material, I would imagine the bar is like that high for those opportunities. But in Vegas, Tony, does that happen?
Well, they would drop in and do spots, but they couldn't promote it because of contractual agreements. They couldn't say they're going to be at a club, but quite often Brad would have friends of his come. And I just thought of a funny story that I had a situation that I was he has a friendship with Mike Tyson. And I went. I tell you, I went to a Sade concert, and I'm sitting in the stands, and I get, through the industry, I get great seats. And naturally, Tyson does too. And I look to my right, and a couple rows over, there's Mike Tyson. I'm like, "It's Mike Tyson. Let me see if I can get a picture with him." Let me get a picture with him. So I go over to him, and he's sitting there with a guy that looks like his bodyguard, this big guy sitting next to him. And so I go over and I say to the guy that's sitting with him, I said, "Listen, would you mind if I took a picture with Mike Tyson?" And he says, "I don't know. Why don't you ask him?" It's like he wasn't there,
That's so funny. And it's funny you should bring him up, because here in Vegas, Mike Tyson, Flava Flav, and Nick Cage all live here. And
Yep.
everybody is constantly like, oh, I bumped into. And as you know, I hang out with mostly entertainers here. Those are my closest friends. I have not met those three yet. And
I got you beat.
Oh, okay.
So during the Super Bowl,
Right.
I was on the welcoming committee for the Super Bowl.
Of course you were.
Okay. And I went to the NFL experience
Right.
with one of the other guys that was working on the Super Bowl with me. And we're walking through there, and I went into the NFL store because they had all kinds of cool stuff in there.
Right.
And there's this guy with a big clock around his neck.
There you go.
And he bumps into me. And I turn around and he goes, "Oh, hi. Hi, how are you?" And he shakes my hand. He says, "How you doing? You having a good time?" I said, "Yeah." My friend shakes his hand, and I didn't realize who it was at first. And he takes off with his entourage, and he says, "You know who that was?" I says, "Who was that?" He says, "That's Flava Flav." I says, "That's Flava Flav." I says, "Yeah." He says, "He shook your hand. You should know this." And but he was very nice. You know, I didn't know. I was backing up to look at something, and he walks into me because he was waving to people. He goes, "Oh man, I'm sorry. How are you?"
And when he stepped on your foot, did you go, "Yeah, boy"?
So I come home and tell my wife that. She says, "So Flava Flav bumped into you literally?" And I said, yeah, he literally bumped into me.
Well, you certainly one-upped me because these three are like mirages to me.
Yeah, it was interesting because then, you know, I've seen him on TV since that time.
Talking about you?
Yeah, he drops my name and said, "Bumped into this guy at the NFL experience."
It's
Literally
memorable.
bumped into this guy. So.
Literally bumped into him.
One other situation I wanted to, before we go on, mention about Rosie O'Donnell was that the fact that sometimes the outcome of a situation I completely miscalculated. And with Rosie, it was a situation where she was on VH1 on the show. She was a DJ on the show, and she was starting to gain popularity. Susie Essman, who plays Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, the dark hair.
Larry David's
best friend's wife. Yeah.
Right, exactly, Susie. So Susie asked if Rosie would open for her for a show, it's a comedy show, and Rosie's like, and she was offering $1,500 for Rosie to do it. This is when Rosie was, not didn't have a show or whatever. So Rosie's like, I don't really want to open for her.
Their comedy styles are similar, aren't they?
Yeah. And so I said, it's going to be very difficult for me to go and tell Susie that you just don't want to open for her. I don't want to go back and say that. And I get this bright idea. I know what I'll do. I'll tell her you would love to do it, but instead of $1,500, you got to get $5,000. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it. So Rosie says, "Yeah, that's fine. Say that. That should stop her in the tracks." So I go back to Susie, and I says, "Same thing, Susie. She'd love to do it, but she wants $5,000." And Susie says, "Okay."
Oh. Whoops.
And I told Rosie about it, and Rosie said, "Okay, for $5,000, I'll do it."
Oh, there you go.
I thought I put my foot right in my mouth. I thought I was going to be choking on my foot.
Oh my God, that's so funny. You thought for sure, I've come up with a perfect solution. I'm representing my client. Oh,
Yep.
wait.
Tony, everybody's got a price, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you start to learn what that price is, not to say the wrong thing, So
You know what my price is? Free.
Freeman.
Freedman. There you go. There you go. So if anybody out there watching Celebrity Encounters podcast would like me to come to their house and have dinner, I'm free.
Yeah.
Alan, he's 5,000.
But I'll do it for 1,500. So
there you go. Discount. You're doing the Rosie discount.
That's
like
right.
That.
Right.
Tony, thank you so much for coming on Celebrity Encounters podcast. One of our favorite guests. Always great stories coming from you.
Appreciate you.
Keep up the good work here in Vegas.
Are you still working, or are you mostly retired now?
I have a number of comics that are on cruise ships that I still have working. Matter of fact, I just spoke to one last night who's in Japan. And he shows me a picture, and I'm like, that's Mount Fuji in back of you. Nothing else looks like that. That's Mount Fuji.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I still do that, and periodically do different. I have a few clients that for the last 20 years, 25 years, I still book their event each year that I do, and awesome. Then I'm always, I'll go to the World Series of comedy out here in Vegas, and try to find some, a gem or someone I think that would do well. And I found guys that didn't win the competition, but being around comedy so much, I would see that they had something that would make them a good comic. So I still do it. Yeah. And I love it. I'm always looking for a funnier guy.
Well, if you need to book us, we're available for a cruise. Okay, you went silent on that one.
Can I tell you one quick funny story that a comic told?
Please.
A wife comes home. A wife is at home with her husband. She says, "Honey, I had a dream last night, and it was my birthday, and it has to do with a bracelet, a diamond ring, and a necklace." And her husband says, "Well, you're just going to have to wait till your birthday." So her birthday comes around, and she's all excited. She says, "Honey, it's my birthday." So he hands her a box. She opens up the box, and in the box is a book. The title of the book is How to Interpret Dreams.
That's good.
I'm here every Tuesday.
No respect. That's right. Try the lasagna. Okay.
Well, Tony, thank you so much again for participating in Celebrity Encounters podcast. Tony's got another episode that he's done with us. So if you thought this was pretty interesting, you got to check out the other one too. I'm Harlan.
I'm Alan.
And this is Celebrity Encounters podcast with Tony.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in today. And if you enjoyed our show, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on all your favorite platforms. We'll see you next week with the next episode of Celebrity Encounter Podcast.